Hello guys, today I'll be talking about 6 bands that I used to like. These are 6 bands that I either just lost interest in or I used to dig them when I was younger and I just kind of lost track of them over time and stuff like that. Now keep in mind these 6 bands are in no particular order or anything like that, but anyways, the first band I want to talk about is Trapped. Used to really dig them when I was younger. I want to say like maybe late middle school, early high school, somewhere in that range. I was kind of digging them a little bit, and I remember really digging their first 4 albums, especially their second album, Someone in Control. But around 2015, 2016, I was starting to lose interest in them, and around that time they were coming out with their album DNA, and I've heard some of the songs on the album and it just sounds to me a bit uninspired, kind of dull, kind of tired, and just in general kind of lame in my opinion. And I know they're coming out with a new album called, I believe, Shadow Work, if I remember correctly. I've heard 1 or 2 songs and it just did absolutely nothing for me. And I've noticed some of the behavior that has happened with the lead singer Chris Taylor Brown, if I got the name right. And I've seen some of the insults too and stuff like that. And he's also bragging about how many followers he has on this and that, listeners and yada yada yada. And you know, that kind of behavior is definitely not going to win me back into this band. But yeah, Trapped, definitely a band that has to be in this list for me. But next we have Hollywood Undead. This band is definitely my biggest regret band, and yeah, I still think that today. I don't know what I was thinking listening to this band, but a friend of mine back in middle school, I've been friends with him back in elementary school, but lately, well, it's been a while. We've kind of lost touch in general, but in middle school, he got me into Hollywood Undead. And I thought they were really cool, one of the most unique things ever, maybe. But I remember really liking their second album, American Tragedy, and thought it was one of the greatest things ever for some reason. They were even, at one point, one of my favorite bands. Maybe not number one, but I know they were at least top 3, which just looking back and just knowing that is just like, wow. Because there were just so many better bands out there for sure. I mean, Hollywood Undead, I mean, even their later stuff, I've heard some of their later stuff, and it just is absolutely nothing for me. There's no growth, there's no maturity in the songwriting. I just did not care for this band much anymore, and looking back at listening to them years ago, it's just like, wow, what was I thinking? But, I mean, we all have those bands that we used to really like, and nowadays look back and think, what was I thinking? Why did I like this? And Hollywood Undead is just one of the biggest glaring bands for me when it comes to that. But next we are going to talk about the band Papa Roach. Now, I don't know if I was a real fan or not because I was really only into the first 3 or 4 albums maybe. I mean, and I will admit their album Infest, I think it's still a classic in the nu metal genre. I still think it's a really good album. Honestly, I still go back to a few songs here and there from that album, but outside of that, I don't really return to anything else. Papa Roach, another band I lost interest in years ago, but occasionally once in a while I'll return to a song here and there from that Infest album, but I don't know, over time they just sounded more and more overproduced in my opinion, and I do remember hearing their last album in full. I decided to go into it with an open mind, maybe seeing if this album would bring me back into being a fan. Their album Who Do You Trust, and boy, and that did not happen because I thought that album was really bad. Some of the worst songwriting I heard from them, some of the worst vocal performances, lyrics, and so on. I just really did not like that album, really did not enjoy the experience. But yeah, Papa Roach, not one of the better nu metal bands in the genre for me, but I will admit their album again, Infest, is a pretty good album, but outside of that album, just not my thing, and I don't really have much desire to get into Papa Roach ever again. But again, if you like them, more power to you. But next we have Powerman 5000. The singer is, of course, the younger brother of Rob Zombie, and now earlier in their discography, they had a bit of a funk influence to them, and then later on, they started sounding kind of a bit more industrial, a little bit, and I don't know. This band, I don't know. I just lost interest quicker than I thought, actually, because I was into this band for a very brief time. I know it can't be longer than a year. It can't be. I want to say it's been at least, or it was about like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months I was into this band. I could be wrong. It could be shorter than that. I can't exactly remember the total time or anything like that, but it was brief though. But yeah, looking back at Powerman 5000, a lot of their music to me has not aged very well, and that's probably a part of why I've just lost interest in these guys. Now, are they the worst band ever? No, but again, there are much better new metal bands out there, in my opinion. But next we have the band Evans Blue, and this band is kind of a mix between Breaking Benjamin and Chevelle, maybe. I don't know. They're kind of part of that post-grunge sound, that type of world of music with bands like Breaking Benjamin, Shinedown, that kind of sound. But this band quickly went downhill after they lost their singer, at least in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. This band, their music didn't really grab me as much as music from other bands for me, and of course, to no surprise, I kind of just lost track of them and just lost interest in general. But they're not terrible bands. It's just, I don't know. They just do not grab me as much anymore. I can't remember the last time I listened to them, but it was a long time ago. But yeah, Evans Blue, another band that has to be in this list for me. But next we have the band Nine Lashes, the final band here in this list. And if you're into bands like Skillet or 1,000 Foot Crutch, then you might like this band. They're pretty much Christian nu metal. I mean, they don't rap really, but I'd still put them in the Christian nu metal genre. Put them in that type of sound, I guess you could say. But I remember really digging their second album, World We View, if I got the album title right. Had songs like Anthem of the Lonely, Adrenaline, and some others. And I will admit, occasionally I'll go back to one or two songs, but not very much though. But Adrenaline's a pretty catchy song though, but outside of that, this is a band that just did not really grab me as much for very long, because I think I lost interest in them around maybe 2016, 2017, maybe earlier. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I just decided to just move on to other bands, or just in general just lost interest. Not a terrible band, but they just didn't grab me as much as other bands, so that eventually led to me getting into other bands and them just falling through the cracks for me. But anyways, those are my 6 bands. Let me know if you can think of any bands that you regret, or bands that you used to like but not really anymore, or anything like that. All that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.